Show, your number one community building show in the world. Every Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. CST, live on Facebook and YouTube. Join us as we discuss pertinent issues that relates to you and I with your host, Alinko.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Progressive Mind Show. We are located right here in the beautiful city of Chicago. This is the number one community building platform where we discuss issues that are very pertinent to our communities. It is March 16, 2022. Time is 6 minutes, no, 6 3 p.m. Central Time. Today, we are going to continue our series on family structure in the Black family. We have been talking about this a bit for the past 2 weeks, if you have been following the Progressive Mind Show. This evening, we will continue, and the topic is the role of the Black man in the Black family, the role of the Black man in strengthening the Black family. We encourage you to be part of this conversation as we all dialogue to make our community a better place. My name is Alinko, and I'm joined with my co-host,
Michelle Okenard. Hello.
We are very excited this evening. Michelle, I know we're looking forward to a lot with this gentleman here.
Yeah.
Before that, we'll take the Captain Mike segment. When we come back, the show will continue. If you're on Facebook and YouTube now, we encourage you to share the feed. We are actually also being carried by My Star, actually now Afro Star radio station out there on the East Coast. It is a Pan-African radio station for your listening pleasure. My Star Radio. I'm used to saying My Star Radio. It is Afro Star now. Afro Star Radio, an online radio station out there in Midwest, a very Pan-African radio station for your listening pleasure. You can tune in now. You'll be hearing this show live. We are also working on other syndications so that we can be on other on these platforms for those of you who cannot watch us live. Okay, let's take the Captain Mike segment. When we come back, the show will continue. Please stay with us and share the feed. We have a little slight delay here. Captain Mike, go ahead.
All right. Well, right now at Midway Airport, we're looking at a pretty decent day today. It's kind of windy, but we got up to 72 degrees, which is about 9 degrees off of the record temperature, 81 degrees. Right now, it's about 70 degrees. Winds are out of the southwest, 15. Gusts are going to be up to almost 30 miles an hour. So let's kind of take a look at our forecast for the rest of tonight and for the rest of the week. Well, for the rest of tonight, we're going to have still winds out of the southwest down to about 52 degrees. Some gusts up to close to almost a little over 20 miles per hour. Tomorrow, high of 62 degrees. Winds are out of the west. They're going to switch to the northeast. Low of 45. Slight chance of rain later. Friday, going to be windy. And it's going to get cooler. About 20 degrees cooler. 42 degrees high. 38 degrees low. Winds are going to stay gusty out of the northeast. Saturday, we're gonna keep those gusty winds, gusts up to 25 miles an hour. Clouds are gonna recess later. We're gonna have maybe some clearing skies late, high of 40, low about 33. Late Friday night, we're gonna get some rain and maybe keep that rain and maybe over some light snow into Saturday morning. Keep an eye on that. Maybe a snow mix. Into Sunday, winds are out of the southwest, 5-10 miles an hour, 55 degrees. A really decent day of all the days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to have cloudy skies. Monday, high of 56, low of 42. Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to look at high of low 40s. Winds are going to stay out of the east, 5 to 10 miles an hour. And more than likely, we're looking at some rain on Tuesday and Wednesday. So a little cooler and rainy for Tuesday and Wednesday. Not the greatest. In our sports, on Friday, if you guys are Loyola Rambler fans, they're going to play Ohio State in the NCAA tournament. And today we had some action in the English Premier League. Liverpool defeating Arsenal 2-0 and Tottenham defeating Brighton and Hove 2-0. And our health and fitness reports, this comes from the Scandinavian Journal of Medicine and Science. A new study suggests even as little as 3 seconds a day of heavy weight training can show improvements in your strength. They did a study with college students, and even beginners can benefit from this. 3 seconds a day of maximum weight training, maximum resistance. The participants were 10% stronger on average. And this was only, if you use the math, 60 seconds of exercise per month. There was no weight growth, no muscle growth. So you're not going to get big like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you can get stronger. Now, there's no excuse now for not exercising if you can only do it 3 seconds a day using maximum weights. Now, for more information on this, go to insider.com to find out how you can get stronger in only 3 seconds per day. But we do suggest using more of that. So with that, we're going back to you.
Captain Mike, thank you so much. Before you go, I'd like to say this. One of our fans and a favorite fan of you has been following for a long time, and she says, "Wow, Captain Mike, I like his presentation. I like the information he gives, his segment. But tell him that my father was the first. He was the pilot. He was the first pilot for the president for a Kenyan president." The first black pilot for a Kenyan president a long time ago. Her name is Faith. She's watching now. She's on the feed. She wanted me to say hi to you and let you know that she has that connection, and so you have a friend of the sky. That's the way she put it. And so, Faith, I delivered your message, and so my job is done.
well, thank you, Faith. And I have to really research your dad. It sounds like an interesting gentleman, man.
Yeah, and that's a man that has made history, knowing the terrain of Africa and and how we work in some of these sectors or some of these professions. And so thank you, Faith, for tuning in. Kofi Jakwe is also watching. Kofi Jakwe is the owner of STORR Radio. STORR Radio, a great gentleman, and we're looking to do great things together. He's actually coming up with a huge streaming platform. So if you have a podcast, whatever radio station, whatever you have, and you want to stream on a bigger platform, Kofi Jakwe is a person, and he's working on bigger things. So STORR Radio Station, 24/7 reggae, Afrobeat. Awesome radio station. So thank you for that, Captain Mike. Thank you for the segment. We're looking forward to speaking with you next week.
Take care.
All right. Now that said, hopefully we have everybody on set. We're missing a gentleman. We're missing Kevin STORR, who was scheduled to be on the show. Hopefully in an hour he can join us. Due to work schedule, he has to rearrange some things. We try as much as possible to get you a mixture or a blend of men from the diaspora, and this is what as much as we tried, we're able to get this fine gentleman here. Again, the subject today is role of men in the Black family. Michelle,
Yes.
what are you expecting from this Black kings?
I'm ready. I'm hoping. I know I'm not the only woman in the audience that is really eager to hear what these gentlemen have to say. I'm looking to hear from your wisdom, right, and your different experiences, as well as your thought around the idea of the Black family and what that looks like. So I'm really, really curious, really excited, and I have a couple questions for you, gentlemen. So I'm sure, and ladies, if you all are out there, please chime in. I think this is a really good time for us single, married women as well to kind of get some input as well.
Thank you, Michelle. And we would want to go straight to our kings here. William Emory Moore is a host of a Diverging Clear podcast. He's also the CEO of EME Rail Solutions LLC. Next to him on the bill is Kevin STORR. He's a professor. He's not here. He's a professor in physics. Hopefully, when he comes, we can get his views. Joseph Williams is the founder of Dads Fathers Club. He's also a community activist, among a lot of things. Next to him is Taiwo Akinlami. Taiwo Akinlami is also a fine gentleman who has done a lot of work in the space of family, and we are looking forward to yeah, we had a glitch earlier that I didn't catch. Michelle, thank you for bringing that up. If you had a little slight glitch in Captain Mike's presentation, it was due to technical issue. So please pardon us. We'll try and fix that next time. Again, Michelle, thank you for alerting us. So Taiwo Peter Akinlami serves as Chief Executive of the Power Parenting Company LLC. He's also a social development law. He also has a degree in law in social development in Nigeria and operates in Africa in that realms. These men have a lot of accolades. Because of time, we would like to, as the show go on, we probably will bring them up. And so please bear with us. We will go straight to them. Gentlemen, once again, you are all very welcome to the Progressive Mind Show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Taiwo, William, you're welcome. Okay, your mic is muted. There you go. We can hear you, but okay. Joseph, can you hear us? You're welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me out tonight. I do appreciate you guys inviting me on. I'm excited to learn more and to just hear more input around the discussion of family.
We want to learn from you, man. You have been a father for years. You have a father's club. Brother, tell us, give us your brief understanding or overview of what the state of the Black family structure is looking like right now in the United States.
Yeah, well, you know what? Again, I'm Joseph Williams. I'm the executive director of the Mr. Dad's Fathers Club. And, when I think about Black family and just overall, it is very important that we not only embrace Black family, but we continue to help build
If you can speak up just a little bit higher, I think it's because of, I don't know if it's
okay. Yeah. So not only is it important that we embrace Black family, but it's important that we also help build that structure back, right? We know systemically that Black families have been broken apart on so many different aspects. And, I think that's why our organization and the work that we're doing is so important, because we're bringing families back together. We're bringing those men back into the picture and helping them be involved in their children's lives, but also in the community as well. So it's very important that we continue to talk about Black family and that structure, and even in America, how much of a difference it makes when you have that family on the front end. Okay. So again, I'm just excited about the conversation tonight, but I want you to know that I support everything that deals with Black family and Black men and raising that positivity level. But for sure, we need our men in place to help that family have that structure as well. We need our men and our women, but men play an instrumental role in Black family.
Yes, thank you. William, if you can hear us, your general overview of what the Black family structure is looking like right now.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. It's very low. If you can speak up a little bit, maybe that can help. You want to clear your throat?
Try to see if that'll help. Is my volume any good now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I mean, just kind of an overview, just looking to see how things are as far as the family structure. I just think there's a lot of, not to try to make it sound like toxic masculinity, but there is a lot of the need of the men in the household is lacking in a lot of areas. I have 3 daughters, and I try to be a very positive influence on them as far as being a man in the house and showing them what men are supposed to do, not as not as opposed to different roles, but just being a structure and a foundation and being a reliable person. And I see, too often we don't have that on a consistent basis for the young men and women coming up in our household. So that's just kind of the overview that I have.
Thank you. Taiwo, I think you shuttle between the United States and Nigeria, but if you can give us your overview of what you have known to what you've come to see of the Black family structure in the United States, and maybe you can give we'll come to the African perspective, but let's stay with Black family in the US.
Well, thank you once again for having me. I think for me, I must start by saying that principles are universal. The applications of these principles are always peculiar, depending on where you are. Now, what I've noticed here is that people, whether at the level of the family or private or public life, will always want to pitch their tent along the line of ideology, ideals, and ideas. And so for me, when you're talking about the black family here, you're either looking at it from the perspective of what individuals think or what a group think,
Yeah.
because there's identity politics and there's individual way of looking at things. So depending on where you stand on the divide, one thing that is clear is that family is the bedrock of the society.
Okay.
Another thing that is clear is that fathers have a major role to play in the life of the family, beginning from the life of their spouses, then going to the lives of their children.
Okay.
Families, fathers play significant role. I think the whole idea of fatherhood comes from two main fundamental principles, which is number one, a father is a source and also a sustainer. And so if you're a source and a sustainer, the question to ask is that when I'm talking about sustainability, I'm not talking about finance, I'm not talking about dollars and pence. I'm talking about basically the fact your stability as a person. No human being on earth can give what he or she does not have. So fathers produce from the abundance of their heart, from the abundance of their character, from the content of their character. So for me, what I've seen here is that there's a generally generally speaking, what seems to be absenteeism when it comes to fatherhood, and I think that is, and I think there's a lot of effort right now in Ohio where I live. There is a group of people trying to work with fathers, trying to get them to take responsibility, particularly when there is separation, where relationships are not working and people have to go their separate ways. It's been found that fathers don't look back a lot of times. And so there's a major effort here in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, trying to do an advocacy that will bring fathers back to be responsible, even when the relationship between them and their spouses are not working. So for me, there's a lot of work to do, but fundamentally, I would like to look at it that the purpose of this conversation is because we believe there's hope, there's something we can contribute, there's something we can do, there's something we can say to change the tide. And basically, I believe that's why we're having this conversation. And so because of the conversation, it will be important for us to speak more to solutions than to speak to the problems. Because
Thank you.
I think the problems are always before us. We know them.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Taiwo. Michelle, you live. I mean, you've lived in this country for a long time. You know some history when it comes to the black family. You've lived it. From a woman's perspective, if you may give us your opinion, please.
I think it's understood that the man's role as a father is very much so needed and very important. Taiwo made a very good point about sometimes men feel the need to exit the child's life, even if they exit the relationship. I have seen that. I've seen it demonstrated in families here, but I've also seen some very excellent fathers who have been very hands-on, very emotionally involved with their children, as well as, being dependable and reliable, like William mentioned earlier. I really believe that it has to do with the mindset of the individual and how that person was brought up. I've heard a few men here say it has to do with the examples that are put in front of them at home. And this is just my experience as a woman and as a mother too. I think it's easier said than done. I think that a lot of men or some men, have been taught to be responsible, but it's different when you're actually under that pressure of having a family and leading a family and providing for that family. And I think that pressure sometimes can separate the boys from the men. And it shows up in absenteeism. It shows up in, being unreliable or not necessarily taking on your role or responsibility as a parent in the way, full capacity that he could, that they could.
Yeah.
So I've seen it on both sides.
Thank you for sharing. And I think it's obvious when you look at the stats, about 81 or 87% single parents hood in the Black community. With this staggering statistic, is it now? I tell you, I agree. We got to look at the solutions, but it's good to see before you find a solution, you got to do troubleshooting, right? There's always troubleshooting. So you got to sometimes nib on the issues. So we will touch on some of the issues. Is it Joseph? From your view, do you think that is the fault from is the reason why we have the staggering numbers? Do you think that it's because men, Black men, if I say Black men, I'm including the diaspora, Africans, African Americans, Caribbean Black men in the United States? You think that the fault is more from the men, which is why we have this staggering number of single parenthood in the Black community? Joseph.
Yeah, you know, I'll say you can't trust all the data. I'll say that part for sure. Because the data that I look at sometimes shows that actually Black men are more likely to pick and drop their children off at school. That they are
Can you
more
give us
likely.
that data?
I'm sorry.
Can you give us that data? The data you were talking about?
Yeah, well, I don't have it in front of me, but when I
Okay.
teach my classes to my fathers and I'm showing them this data, sometimes media and things show us something that's just not true when it comes to Black men and Black fathers. And I can tell you that Black men and fathers are more involved in their children's lives than even other races at times, where they actually are the ones who are at home. I think some of the data is rigged at times, whereas it's only showing you the separation, but it don't show you that although they're separated, these fathers are still picking their children up and doing things with them, right? So for me, I'm not so much a fan of some data that shows a negative light on Black fathers, but what I will say is that again, when you look at systemically, how things have happened from you're looking at mass incarceration and all of those things that play a factor of a Black man just being involved in their family's life. And you're looking at that structure piece and understanding just the root causes of some of this. And now you look at where we are now. I can tell you, I work with tons of men on a regular, and a lot of these fathers, sometimes they just need to know how. There's no playbook on how to be a great dad. There's no book to read on how to be a father or how to be a good man. You just have to kind of trust it, right? For me, I didn't have my father in my life, but I'm a really great father with all 5 of my children, with one on the way. We are like the perfect example of a Black family, but I wasn't taught this. All of this was through experience. Before we can even look like this in front of folks, I remember even sleeping out of my car. So I know what the struggle is like growing up and still trying to have a balance, still trying to take care of your family and put food on the table, right? Still doing all of these things. And I can tell you, it's not that easy for Black men, especially if you're coming out with an X on your back. Now it's hard for you to even get a job to provide for your family. So you just got to look at all of the factors that can take place and why you would say fathers are absent. But in my opinion, if you go to any of these schools, I'm looking at dads drop and pick their children up from school. And I don't see them to not be involved, but I see them to not always have an outlet. Fathers want to play a role, but sometimes they need guidance on how to play that role and what they can do to make a difference. And that's what we do with our program. We get these fathers and we help them tap in. We come in, get them to come read books. We had them come and read and mentor with children. Today, I had them come out there in Roseland to clean a community together. So it's not that they don't want to be involved. It's not that they want to be absent fathers. Sometimes you have to look at every situation that's there. Sometimes you have mothers who choose not to let the fathers be involved. So we also have to talk on both ends on how does that part work? How do we mediate these things with the moms and the dads when they separate so fathers can still be in their children's lives, right? And so data, I'm not a huge fan on it because I think people can make data look like what they want it to look like. And I'm strong about pushing and I really have not just hope, but I know that we're going to see data soon that's going to show more Black fathers involved in their children's lives all over. And I hope my program plays an instrumental role in making that happen as well.
I like that. I don't know if Michelle wants to say anything.
I wanted to say something to that, Joseph. Hello, congratulations on your addition to the family on the way. And I'm familiar with your work. I think we worked together a little bit in the community in Inglewood a couple years ago. And I've always seen you and your beautiful family just be so active in the community, just as a family unit. You've always been a very positive image, especially in the Inglewood community. So I just wanted to give you your accolades and congratulate you on that. But I also wanted to piggyback on something you said about sometimes, and you're right. You're absolutely right. A lot of Black men systemically are oppressed, right? And they're placed in a position as the underdog, where it makes it much more difficult for them to find employment and really adequately provide for their families, right? But I wanted to speak to, you mentioned something about sometimes the mothers don't necessarily allow, right, the fathers to be a part of that child's life. Do you think, and I heard Taiwo touch on it earlier as well, about absenteeism, do you think that is a bigger, since we're talking data, is that a bigger portion of the absenteeism, do you think? Is it the relationship barrier between the parents? You know, like, can we talk about co-parenting and what, you know, how that impacts on the fatherhood as well?
Yeah. I wouldn't say that would probably be a nice chunk of the data, but I think it just plays a role. I think it just plays a role. You know, sometimes I think we see that right now when you see Kanye West talking about his children, right, and different things like that, and some of the things he's going through right now. But I just think that's just one piece of the puzzle, right? And I think the biggest part of all of this is just the education. Our young women, our young men, we all have to be educated as a community on how to even be parents. We have to remember we're dealing with generational trauma. Most of us wasn't brought up the same exact way, right? A lot of folks was brought up with so much trauma, and now they're doing it to their children, and they just continue to pass the torch on and on. So the education piece, if folks just knew how important it was to have, even if you're not together, to have a relationship for the children. You know, when I teach my classes to the fathers, I tell them even the things that they're doing in front of the children, how that affects their babies in the long term. When you're arguing with the mother, your children can get headaches because of that. They cannot get good sleep because of that. They can go to school and act out because of it. They actually get health conditions because of what you're doing with your partner, and you're not doing it to the baby directly, but because they're exposed to these type of things, right? So it's so many factors that take place when I think about. But to answer your question, I don't think that plays a majority of the role, but I do think the more that we educate our young women, because a lot of these women are getting younger and younger, and they're having children, and it's a lot. Children aren't easy. It is a lot, and sometimes we have to just we grow. But throughout time, you don't want it to be too late with your growth, because ultimately your children are affected by all of this in the long run. And I work with so many fathers now who I know cannot see their children, and they are some good men that want to be involved in their babies' lives. And it's just like trying to find a way to bridge that gap with the mom and say, hey, mom, just work with dad if you can a little bit, you know. And in the state of Illinois, fathers ain't got no rights. The only way you see your children is you go to that court and you request for any type of custody, visitation, or anything. You don't automatically have rights to your child. So it's good to educate our folks more than anything.
Okay, no, that I really like that, and I would like you to give us some of the education, and I will also want you to tell us what are some of the main problems or issues that the men you are mentoring or helping to become great fathers. What are some of the main challenges that they kind of like express to you? Taiwo, I know you've been listening keenly. William, can you hear us now? William? Okay, you can hear us, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I know you've listened for some time. You go if you want. If I don't know if you wanted to chime in on something that somebody said, but the role of fathers in strengthening the Black family, and we know that there's a strong Black family, but we also, it's obvious that there are issues, and it seems as though we're struggling again. Looking at the single parent numbers, yes, it may not be high as it's tutored around, and Mr. Joseph. Thank you for sharing that. As we go along, if you can bring us some of the data that you work with, you can help augment the conversation. But it's obvious that we see a lot of single parenthood in the Black communities. So, would you want to contribute to? Would you want to tell us what you think the issue are, and what the issues are, and what men can, what roles should men play, Black men play, in trying to strengthen the Black family?
Uh, you guys hear me? I'm sorry again. Can you hear me good?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so the one thing I do want to say, Joseph, I appreciate all the work that you're doing because I've seen you do some of the things that you've done, and it's pretty amazing. But to that question of the role of the man and especially in strengthening the Black families is, I was one of the few people in my neighborhood that actually grew up with my father in the household, and you could actually see the difference from even the way um, that me and my brothers conducted ourselves. My dad and my mom was part of our lives, and everything we did in every aspect. My dad was a teacher. He coached me and my brothers in high school and coached us in basketball. Even after we graduated, we all stayed together and we coached together as as his sons on his staff. But you can see how each one of us how we cater to our children and make sure that our kids were first, because that was the example that was set forth for us by our dad. My dad was, he's a heck of a man, and I thank him for everything that I am as far as being a father. And I just think that using that example, I know that there's other guys, that a lot of people, a lot of my friends that didn't have that in their household, but at least I try to at least help share that knowledge and share the different types of information and feelings that I got from my dad, because I know how important that was. But like even in that case, my dad even took on the role of a lot of kids that he taught at school over on the St. Francis de Sales over on the east side of Chicago. He took a lot of the kids that may not have had fathers in their lives, and he played that role to the point where all of his students still call him dad. So just what that type of example was very important to me, because and I saw how he took it upon himself to be that father figure for others, and I try to do the same in my life. Trying to make sure that I'm for guys that may have questions about it. Like we're not professionals at this, but at least the little things that you can pass on to other men that's maybe struggling through different things. I think it's very important in these different roles. I mean, we have to be able to engage with each other to be able to help, build that community of fathers, because it's something that they know that I may know that they don't, and it might be vice versa. So I think that's a very important thing that needs to take place and continue to work on, similar to the type of work that Joseph does.
Thank you for sharing. Taiwo, you've been listening keenly. I don't know if you have any comments to make or respond to that question. I think you muted, Taiwo.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I think I like the quality of conversation that is going on here. One thing that is clear is this: at the end of the day, it boils down to who you are, and many of us were either raised or we were erased. And if you were not raised, there's every possibility that you come into the responsibility of fatherhood defective. And when you come in defective, you are going to produce after your kind, except you find some help along the line. So for me, it is about what you represent, who you are, the content of your character, reflecting in your children, reflecting in your relationship with your spouse, which will translate to the relationship that your children will observe, which will translate to how your children will see you and how they will see society at the end of the day. So for me, I think that one of the things that we need to focus on today is individual responsibility. How do we even ensure that we don't even get to the point of breakup, to the point of two people bringing a child into the world and both of them saying we are fed up, and most of the time we don't think about these entities that were brought into this world. If we study history very well, we'll find out that most men that have troubled our world were men that were abused. They were men that were messed up from childhood. And as a matter of fact, when they became adults, all they could offer society was pain, was inflicting on the society the kind of pain they went through growing up. That's why I keep saying our world today does not have leadership problem. We do not have educational problem. We don't even have family problem. We are dealing with only one problem: is mismanaged childhood manifesting in dysfunctional adulthood. That's what we're dealing with. Everybody today, Hitler was abused. He ended up prosecuting the Second World War, where he slaughtered. Second World War claimed 62 million people. That's 2.5% of the entire population of the world. Somebody like Joseph Stalin was also abused. He grew up, became a terror to his country. So the point I'm trying to make is, I agree completely with Joseph, and I agree with Williams that the foundation matters. How were we raised? And we must come to a point in our lives where we must deliberately take an inventory of how we were raised and begin to ask the question: how do we ensure that the buck stops at our table if we were not properly raised? The buck must stop at our table at the point. We cannot continue to give excuses if not. Look at Joseph. He was not raised by a father, but he took responsibility at a point, and some point in his life.
Yeah.
What his father could not do for him, he's now doing for other fathers. What his father was not to him is now to his own children, right? And he has also taken it a step further by being a hope to other fathers. So I think that's how we need to begin to look at these matters. We can talk about a whole lot of other things which will be sound. We can talk about discrimination against. You can talk about racism. You can talk about lack of opportunities. All of those things will be true. They'll be very true. But at the end of the day, as we talk about that also, we must also talk about the place of taking personal responsibility for the kind of outcome you want to see in your family.
Very, very, very powerful, Michelle.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, Taiwo. I mean, man, you made some really great points, but I got to ask you this question. You talked about trauma and things being rooted in pain, right? So what advice would you give the men listening here today? How would they mitigate the damage that was done to them as children and manage it to make them better fathers? Because I think, like you said, it's a choice, right? It's not your fault, but it's your responsibility.
Yes.
So how do you use that pain and apply it properly?
So for me, okay. So let me talk about myself. I came from a very abusive background. My father died at the age of 82. I was 39 in 2009. My father and I never had a conversation. He never sat me down to instruct me on any issue of life, but he cursed me many times. When he wanted to cane me, I grew up in Africa. He would tie my legs, he would tie my hands, he would strip me naked, and he would give me 6 strokes of the cane, and he would go and sit down, and that could go on for half a day. I was called names. I was not raised. I was erased. I've lost my virginity at the age of 6. That's the year I started primary school, because my mother would go to the market, leave me with a woman who was a neighbor, and this woman would strip me naked, do with a 6-year-old boy what a woman should do with a man. And so before I knew it, my sexuality was awoken. I was a shadow of myself, anal sex, all of those things. Okay, so think about any sexual perversion in the world, apart from incest and sleeping with animals. I think I've tried it, because my sexuality have been stolen. I did not know what its value. Masturbation, I could just stop on the middle of the road and masturbated. I was a pimp. Not only a pimp, I was using prostitutes like as if I was changing diaper. So that's how my life was before 1997. And what happened to me in 1997? I had an epiphany. I had an encounter. I became a Christian. I gave my life to Christ, and that was the beginning of transformation in my life. I began to understand that my parents made fundamental mistakes, and those mistakes do not define me. I must not take responsibility for their errors, but I must take responsibility for my life, because at the end of life, I'm going to have many excuses, for messing up, for saying what my father did, what my mother did not do. I was going to have excuses, but I will not have any reason. You know why? Because for as many reasons I want to give, life will show me other people who went through worse situations and they took responsibility. And so there's place for therapy, there's place for help and all of that. But I think the first thing is to take responsibility. This sense of responsibility, I may not know how. You don't have to know how, but you just have to choose and make up your mind. The buck must stop at my table. this is what has been with my family. This is the history. I want to be a game changer. I want to deliver myself from rain beating chicken mentality and begin to look forward. So when you decide the course, the solution will come. You know, where there's a will, there's a way. So I think the first thing is for us to not wallow in self-pity, not to call a pity party, is to understand that there's a way. And when there's a way, where there's a will, there's a way. You know, no, let me just say this. The other day I was on radio and I was talking about the kind of life I used to live and the kind of life I live now. I've been married to my wife for 15 years. By God's grace, there's no scandal. You know, by God's grace, we've been together. And look at the kind of life I used to live. You know, we waited for 15 years to have our first child. We had our first child we've been married for 15 years, but we just have our first child October last year. And the fact that we did not have a child for 15 years of marriage never became a crisis. I never looked back, because when I married my wife, I wasn't marrying my wife for a child. I was marrying my wife for the sanctity of the marriage union. But note, my father was not faithful to my mother. Note that my father was not, what I felt about my relationship between my father and my mother was that I felt that you just decide if you want to hate someone and you want to punish the person. Just marry the person. Once you marry the person, so that gives you the opportunity to show how much you hate the person. That is how much I saw between my father and my mother. But I decided the buck must stop at my table. And that is the difference at the end of the day. So a young man was asking me, said, tell me the strategies, what you did. I said, no, I can't talk to you about strategy first. I must first talk to you about a decision. Are you ready? Because if you are not ready, if you don't take that decision, no matter what strategy we give you, you are going to criticize the strategy. You are going to find a loophole in the strategy, because there's no strategy that is perfect. So it's all about understanding the fact that something was broken. Understand the fact that something happened to you that ought not to have happened. And understanding the fact that there is a lot you can do. There are choices you can make that can transform your life. And those choices, at the end of the day, will have to do with how much work are you ready to do. So has it been a bed of roses? No, it's been tough. It's been tough for me to be a man, to do the things that I do, to keep my head down. It's been tough. It's been tough, but I tell you, it's been worth it for me.
Wow.
That's amazing. I have a question. Do you think, now being a new father, congratulations, being a new father, how has that experience been for you, given how you've healed through so much?
Well, I'm having my first child. I had my first child at the age of 51. I'm going to be 52 in March. So that child coming into my life changed my life completely. I'm completely a changed man, because I'm able to look at the responsibility that is upon me. Those responsibilities were responsibilities I was conscious of before I had a child, because I've always worked with children. I've worked with fathers and mothers and parents and all of that at the highest level. But I understood those responsibilities. But those responsibilities became clearer to me when this child came to know that I am either this child, I am an example to the child, either a positive one or a negative one. So responsibility, I feel an awesome sense of responsibility to lead this child, because the little one is watching me, is taking after everything that I'm doing. The mistake we make is that children we want to begin to give instructions to children or talk to children when they begin to understand, but we forget that children learn first by observation. Now, when they speak for the first time, they speak the dominant language of the environment in which they are grown up, who taught them, which means from now, the child is observing me. So the responsibility that I find is the fact that this is an opportunity to preach, to practice what I've always preached. This is an opportunity to be a father indeed. This is an opportunity to love my wife more, because there's a challenge now. We waited for a child for 15 years. There's every possibility, if care is not taken, that I divert all my affection and attention to this small boy, and I want to protect him by all means. And my wife is feeling, what's going on? We waited for this child together. The same thing can happen from the end of my wife also. So what I'm trying to do now is to ensure that I love my wife more than I profess how much I love my wife more than ever before, and at the same time begin to provide leadership for this young boy that we brought to this world. Who knows how long I have left to look after this boy. So what I'm doing right now, I keep speaking into his life. I keep pronouncing into his life, because I know even if I'm not around, I want those words that I'm speaking to him right now to go ahead and shape in his future and make him great.
Wow. Wow. Joseph and William, I know we've been listening keenly, and you all have to go in a few minutes. We understand due to workload. Oh, okay. We lost Joseph, unfortunately. Hopefully, we can get him back. But William, um, you, fortunately for you, you had an exemplary father figure to look up to, right? From your experience, from other men you've spoken to who are having challenges and who don't want to be around, what is it that they tell you that what is the difference between a man who is ready to be active in the life of his children, or let's say his family, be it the mother he has the children with, or the kids, and a man who decides that, look, my daddy didn't do this, or I don't care. What do you, from your experience, what is that difference that makes one go left and the other go right?
I still think it comes down to each individual person, because you have guys that may have had a father in their household and they chose to. As the other brother said, there it's a personal responsibility. Um, there's no difference there's a very thin line between both of them, between one that wants to be there and one that chooses not to be there. A lot of times it comes down to the individual character. I know guys that they said, it's a lot of gentlemen I know that you couldn't pull them away from their kids regardless of what's going on. They're
Right.
going to be there. And then there's other guys that just, that I've known or grown up with, or were acquaintances with, that just didn't put the time or effort in, just didn't want to have anything to do with it. And for me, it was always trying to figure out, like, as the question was asked, how can you do that? Because when I see my girls and I see their face, I say, you have to move, you have to drop 1,000 mountains in front of me to keep me away from them, and I'm still gonna get over the mountains because they're
Mm,
my babies.
mm.
But everybody doesn't have that mentality. I don't,
Right.
it's something.
Right.
It's something that you can't. It comes down to individual responsibility. That's the only way I can say it.
That's true. So it's not attributed to some conditions around the man, but it's innate, because from what you're saying, and obviously, but I mean biologically, if you have a child, or the woman you had a child with, there should be that natural connection, a natural responsibility, or just love and care to not harm them, even if you can't be around them, to at least be responsible and try to see their upbringing, right, to see the betterment of their children. So if that is not in your head for whatever reason, it must not be the conditions. It's just not. It's just that you as an individual, it's not wired that way. Is that correct? Is that a fair statement, Joseph? Having worked with other men, yeah.
Yeah. Matt. Well, first I love to just agree with everything that both of these amazing fathers and men have stated, because I agree with every single thing that they've said so far. I agree with everything. I think you have to take responsibility of your life, and that's any situation you're in. You got to hold yourself accountable at some point. You can't
Right.
blame your struggles for always being the reason why everything happens. At some point, you have to take ownership.
Right.
But I
So
kind of off the last year.
so if a man is not doing that, it is not the conditions, it's not the excuses, it's just him. He's just not wired that way. Is that a fair statement to make?
I can't agree 100% with that,
You can,
because
okay.
I'm still on the edge of, it's also, did he see it?
Uh-huh.
Yes, your conditions play a major role. Your conditions doesn't have to be the end of everything, but you also have to see something. You can't be what you can't see, and that's my motto. That's what I believe in when I'm in the schools. That's why I bring judges in to talk to these children. I bring anybody that I can bring, so I can inspire these children that You can be a black judge. You can be anything that you want to be in life. So I'm a strong believer in, if you don't see it, how can you be it? So you have to also be exposed to it on some level as well. So I can't agree with that 100%. Is it some fathers that are out here that just don't do anything at all? Absolutely. Or just don't want to be involved, probably just making a lot of kids and just don't want to. You probably absolutely right about that part. But at the same time, I have to also think about what's their story behind that, right? A lot of times, even when I thought, and I heard Brother Williams saying something, and it resonated a little bit with me, because sometimes you can have a father that's right there in the house with all of the children, but still not be there. He there, but not there.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with that time when you are there? How are you creating that space to actually give this time to your children and make that time count for real, right? So for me, I'm a strong believer in like the education piece, but just based on so much trauma and hurt that we've been through, like even myself right now, we're doing family counseling. I thought that was just something that was extremely important. You know, a lot of times we don't think about counseling. We don't have anybody to talk to or to have this outlet. That's why you see a lot of folks go to the streets at times, because they think there's a family out there, or they think there's an outlet for them to have this space. But sometimes you just got to provide a space for folks to talk about their emotions and their feelings. And as men, we got to be strong. We're not supposed to cry. We can't let stuff out, and we got to be able to still have a space to talk about it sometime, and still have that space. I feel like to just, you know, you got to have some support. You also have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else, if that makes sense.
Can we? And it's important you said that. Is it easy to say that it's important for men in general to be better fathers? I know I'm a mother, right? Too, for me to be a better mother, to acknowledge your past, acknowledge the trauma, acknowledge whatever barriers may be getting in the way of you really connecting, right, to your children the way that you think or know that you really should. I have one other question to everyone on the panel.
Before you answer that question, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we will continue the show. If you're watching, this is the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Alinko. I'm here with my co-host, Michelle, and we are talking about the role of men in strengthening the Black family. The whole of the month, we are treating family structure in the Black community. So please feel free to chime in. We'll give you the number once we come back from the short break.
There is a cry. Aglo. Bolingbrook Lighthouse is a network of caring women. We are a dynamic global movement with a single mission to see God's purpose fulfilled on earth as it is in heaven. Our mandate is every nation touched and every heart changed for God. We invite you to our prayer meeting every Saturday and breakfast meeting held every last Saturday of the month from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. via Zoom meeting. For more information, please contact Dickness Rebecca Modi at 630-297-1471 or Reverend George Ofe Ado, our advisor, at 630-414-9505. We look forward to having a refreshing time with you in the Lord. Thank you and stay blessed.
In my heart. Welcome back to the show. We'll go straight to the panel. Michelle, go ahead.
Thank you. This is for anyone to answer. Is fatherhood instinctual? Is it an instinct? And I'm curious to hear from you. I know being a mother, I know it can be instinctual. Certain things your body may tell you to feed your child. You may wake up before it's time. The child wakes up. You just have those kind of instinctual things that drive you as a mother. And I know a lot of women out there can probably agree with me on that. So for fathers, though, do you all have those type of instinctual cues that kind of guide you while parenting your children?
That's a brilliant question. Because I know Joseph and William has to go. So Joseph and William, you can take a shot on this, and then Ty, we take Ty. But go ahead, William, because Joseph just spoke quickly, and then Joseph can respond to this because of his time.
Okay, I would say there's certain things that are instincts and certain things that you learn on the fly. You know, there's certain things like, you know, to protect your child, you don't want them to get injured. That's just instinctually, but being able to hear them crying at night might not be instinctual where, especially when they're young. It kind of it's not a fluid thing. It's certain areas that are natural, that come natural with it, but there's other areas that you have to learn over time. So I'm on the fence of saying that for me personally that it took time for me to get some of the innate things that mothers pick up on quickly. It took me some time to pick up on that, but other things I picked up on right away. So it's kind of a both. It's not a I don't think it's a clean cut for every situation.
Joseph, thank you so much, William.
I think Brother Williams just said it. And he's absolutely right. I don't think, and I think even with the mothers, right? A lot of mothers, you have to get them instincts sometime and still catch on. But I'll say for me, just being protective over my children, right? And just being that protector. I tell you, if we walking across the street, I know to make sure that they on the inside of me. Even if it's my wife, I make sure she's on the inside and I'm on the outside. At night, I get up and double check everybody's bed and make sure they okay and they breathing, right? It's certain things that I know I'm gonna do just as always thinking of as a protective mode and just making sure that they safe and they okay. And it's some things that I have to give all the credit to my wife because, and that's why I'm so blessed to have an amazing wife because what I don't remember, she remembers. So that tag team does help at times, but for the most part, I try to get as many instincts as I can when I'm thinking about my children. It don't matter whatever you can think of. I'm thinking about it ahead of time because I want to make sure they are always okay and just super prepared. Even now, even when I'm driving in the car with them, I'm talking to them about the history of just different things that has happened in the world and just teaching them about life, just teaching them about them being Black and growing up, but having a balance and just trying to teach them as much as I can at a young age. So as they grow, they are just starting to just really just excel, but they are really understanding life a little bit more clear. Everything that I had to learn the hard way, I'm trying to teach it to them now so they can have somewhat of an insight. Now, of course, some people still got to learn the hard way, but I'm going to at least give them that opportunity by teaching them early. So I just say that. So for me, instincts, I move pretty fast when it comes to it, but of course, I have an amazing wife that helps me out. And Michelle, I can't even get off of here without saying I am so proud of you and all of the amazing work you're doing. Not even just as of course, amazing mother, but you're making some powerful moves here in the city. And I love to see every single thing you're doing. And I just think it's amazing. And we need more examples even like you. Same way we need examples for fathers. We need more women like you for these young ladies that have to grow up. They can see that it can happen and that it's possible to be a mother and still raise your children and still be a positive light on everyone else. So I'm just blessed to be around so much great energy and great people tonight.
Thank you so much, Joseph. I really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. It's 7 p.m. exactly, 7 p.m. Central Time. Like we are still talking about the family structure, specifically roles of men in strengthening the family, the Black family, strengthening the Black family. And you've heard a lot of the conversations. If you want to chime in, the number is 815-277-5047. 815-277-5047. I don't know how much time Brother Joseph and William have for us. I was gonna. I wanted to follow up with you, Brother Joseph, some of the challenges, the main challenges, the top of the list of challenges that men share with you, and how you direct them or how you try to guide them, and what has been the success rate, right, for your program and for what you do. Again, if you have some time to, chime in on this, that's fine. If not, we can wait for you. Okay, good. William, are we good, or do you have a few minutes for you, William? Okay, all right. So Joseph, please go ahead, and then we'll go to William quickly. Thank you.
Yeah. Give me that question one more time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll give you that question. Taiwo, we'll come to you. Okay. Taiwo is like in soccer, we have something called the goalkeeper or the number 9. He's standing. I mean, he's not moving, and so because we know that. We will come to Taiwo. He would absorb some of the things that I know he's listening keenly, and he will respond to it and some of the questions that we have. We also have some feeds. You know what? My question is, we do have some feeds on the platform that will be good for you, Joseph. I mean, that I would like Joseph and William to respond to. But Joseph, my question is, what are the top, let's say, the top list challenges that the men you are leading and mentoring complain or bring out when you're having your sessions, and how do you navigate them through it, and what is the success rate? How many men, let's say, come in a month, and how many men go out, doing better, and how many of them fall out, that kind of thing? If you can give us roughly the success rate of the program and how it's impacting men and changing them, if you may.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, with the Mr. Dad's Fathers Club, when we started our organization, it was strictly focused on the children and youth. And the main reason for that was because I thought it was just be better to be proactive instead of reactive about things. I didn't want to wait till these young babies get into the streets to say, now let's try to help them. So I wanted to see how we can change their mindsets at an early age and encourage them, tell them they can be whatever they want, build the self-esteem. When it comes to the youth, teaching them about entrepreneurship, bringing folks in who's been through hard times and having them talk to them to just inspire them to be great. And just 2 years ago, we added on a fatherhood session piece. Now, I'll be honest, this is a population that folks had given up on. A lot of these gentlemen has either they are considered high-risk gentlemen. And I thank God. I thank God for putting me in that room with these guys. These young men, I don't care if they've been locked up or anything that they've done in their past. I've never felt so educated myself being around young men who basically just needed a little guidance. It's not that they don't know certain things. They are well educated about a lot of things. But I tell you, some of the struggles when I go through this group and I'm learning some things, they want to know how to move forward. How can they buy property? How can they start their own business? How can they get visitation or custody of their children? They want to know things like other folks want to know, but they want to know how can they now move forward in life. So we work on doing that a lot, and I'll tell you the success rate with it has been absolutely amazing. I'll tell you, I haven't had one gentleman yet drop out of the program. Actually, they moved to the next stage. So the group that we had at first has now moved into a workforce group where they're actually going out and working now. And now I have a fresh group that's like 19 to 24 that just came in. And, we talk truth and we lay it all out there and we do our thing. I actually just recently showed them a documentary that Colin Kaepernick came out with because I wanted them to see that. And we had like real talk, and we talk about things that are not just taking place in the world, but
I love
how
that.
do we
I love you give the number, the age demographic, 19 to 24, and you were talking about the community of Inglewood in Chicago.
So actually, with our fatherhood sessions, we host those in actually the west side of Chicago in the Austin area, and then we also host it in Roseland. So I do not do the fatherhood in Inglewood. That is in Austin area in Roseland. But everything else is all around when you're talking about the literacy and mentoring. We are on the west side, we on the south side, I'm over east. I'm up to 10 CPS schools before school end. My goal is to move up to 20 CPS schools at least and get this program everywhere we can because we see how much the babies need it. Last week I read a book and I spoke about it on my last interview. Right when I got to talking about it, one of the young men said, my daddy died. Not only was it a little emotional for me because he's in pre-K and he's like understanding all of this already. And he's so strong and so smart. He's just an inspiration to me, honestly. And to hear this young man say that, but I knew how much more important it was for this program that we have and how important it was for us to keep doing this work because although they may not have their father there, and I'm not going to try to be your dad, but I will step into that role to give you that support and make sure I give you the best that I can give you and build you up as a young man to do anything I can do. So that's why I bring my mascot out. You got Mr. Dad. He comes out with the kids. The kids love him. Every time he show up, they shaking his hand and running up to him and hugging him. And now I hope to have like a little Toy Story Woody almost where Mr. Dad going to be a plush animal. So then these little babies can take Mr. Dad back with them. And they can love him because, we need to fill that gap at times. So, and the last thing I say, I want to give you some data because I end up finding it on my PowerPoint. And it says specifically that Black fathers, 70% were most involved and likely to have bathed, dressed, diaper, or help their children use the toilet every day compared to white 60% and Latinos at a 45%. Now that came from CDC report when I actually used that to show a PowerPoint one day to the fathers. But it just showed this.
Can you
Some
give that
fathers,
data again? And then can you give that data again and the source and how recent is that data if you have it?
absolutely. So this data, June 17th of 2018. And it's a CDC report, and it says again that Black fathers are 70% were most involved and likely to have bathed, dressed, diaper, or help their children use the toilet every day compared to white at 60% and Hispanic fathers at 45%. But I will say the data can change a little bit with this because this can also be talking about the fathers that are actually in the home compared to the ones that aren't in the home. But some, of course, that are in the home are still doing some of these things, but that data could change, and that's what I mean by how they can change data at times.
Awesome. Awesome. Last question for you. How many people, how many at a time, how many young men sign up for your class? 20, 30, 15?
So every group we get about 15 fathers.
Okay.
So far I've been able to bless 2 different groups, so that's been a total of 30 fathers, but every group is always 15 fathers with our fatherhood session. Children wise, oh man, we try to read books to at least 3 to 4 classes a day, and we only read on Tuesdays. But when we read on Tuesday, we hit 3 to 4 classes. So you're talking about sometimes 90 children or more. So when I leave there, I'm tapped out at times, but I know it's all worth it. But we want to make sure that we just hit as many as we can because it's important. And now we have donors who are giving us like these different merchandise like Nike and Jordan things and stuff like that. So each classroom we go to, we also just bless them with socks and coats and just give them different things too. So they get to go home. And sometime when they go home, just recently at my last school, a father for one of those kids said, "How can I get involved with the program?" Because now he just saw his baby come home with this, and the baby that came home all happy and talking about it. So now it's helping more fathers buy into the program where now they want to come in and make a difference. So I'm just blessed to be able to kind of do this type of work, to be honest about it.
Thank you. And I'm going to have you give us your closing remarks. I know Bishop may have a question, but let me just ask this question real quick because of your time. A lot of times, and obviously, women are more emotional. And when it comes to the family structure, and let's say an argument ensues, when women get very emotional and they carry it to everything, including parenting, finances, and everything, who should play the bigger role here by equalizing the situation and trying to calm things down? I'm asking this because the alpha male situation is in full force. The ego situation of man, we have ego, we the boss, we the king, so I have to have the last word. There is that debate. So in this case, and as men playing role in strengthening the Black family, for men, William, who should play the bigger role and say, you know what, I'm going to probably shut up. I'm going to probably swallow my ego, and for the sake of peace, for the sake of the upbringing of the children, I may have to play that role that I'm not naturally supposed to because of the ego, the authority, and that dominion thing that men have. William.
I believe that it is 100% our responsibility to calm that situation down because uh, not only are we the physical protectors of our household, we also are the mental protectors of the household. Also, we can't just turn it on and off for certain situations. If we're going to be the protectors, we got to be protectors in every aspect of the family. Whether it's as the numerous things you just mentioned, we have to be able to fit into that role of saying that, hey, you know, pride pride isn't is pride doesn't feel good after the argument. It feels good in the argument, but afterwards it doesn't feel as good. So, there's throwing the pride to the side and just saying that, like, look, I have to be the leader. I have to. Sometimes leaders have to be able to step back, observe the situation, and figure out what's the best way to do it. So a lot of times, I think it's absolutely our role, our responsibility to take on that burden of saying, hey, I'm going to calm this situation down by whatever means necessary. We can revisit this at a different time because we're also have to remember that we have the little ones watching us. This is something that I've had to learn over the years, that my daughters were watching me and how I interacted with their mom. So that's to me 100%. It's our role to step up and take that role to calm things down and to continue to be a leader, even in the most difficult situations.
Doesn't that make you feel weak then? That's the argument for some men. You're the boss. So if you do that, then you lose your authority. You show weakness, and you don't have to show weakness. You got to show toughness. So doesn't that make a man feel weak? Again, from the perspective of other men.
That's where the toxic masculinity comes in, because you on both aspects of that, being it's the difference between showing bravado and showing leadership. The loudest person in the room isn't always showing leadership. The person, the bully in the room isn't showing isn't showing leadership. The person that can step back and strategically say, this is what I need to do, this is what we need to accomplish, and do it in a nuanced way. And don't get me wrong, I have not perfected this either, but it's one of my goals. It's something that I'm moving towards as personally on my journey of trying to balance this out, because they said the bullying, that because that's what it comes down to, where people say I have to have the power. Well, power is only as good as the way that you delve it out. You can use power to corrupt, you can use power to do good. In this role, I think men have to use it to do good and take it in that role and responsibility.
Yeah. Okay, Joseph, I know you got to go. So maybe in your closing, you want to respond to this question, and then I'll have Taiwo come in as well. But I know it's about time for William too. So William, first of before Joseph closes us, Michelle, please, if you have a question, please go ahead. I know we're about to close. I mean not close, but this gentleman have to. Their time is up. But if Michelle has any question, real quick.
I have a quick question in terms of financial responsibility, right? It's great to be a hands-on parent. I think that that's extremely important, pouring wisdom into your children, being there for them on a daily basis. But what about financially? Does that make you any less of a father? And I'm not talking about those men who may be underemployed or non-employed, right? I'm talking about more specifically, maybe men who are employed, which we talked about earlier in the conversation about maybe because of his relationship with the mother, he may not want to contribute financially, but still is a hands-on father, so to speak. What's your take on that?
Again, Joseph, you can have this as your closing remarks, as and then William as well. So if any of you wants to take it up, any of you want to respond first, and then Taiwo, I know you've taken down all the notes, and Taiwo will take turn in responding to each of the things, all the questions we've asked so far. But so Joseph, again, in your closing remarks, if you want to respond to Michelle's question.
Yeah, why not? So,
and then the ego thing, if you can just join that, in your closing.
So I think financially, and Michelle, don't get me because I'm a little tired. So I think I heard a nice part of that question, and I'm hoping I'm answering it right. But I think
real quick, if a father is hands-on, he's in his child's life every day, right? But and is gainfully employed, but still refuses to contribute financially to support his child. Is he still a good father? Is he still a man? Is he still a provider? What are your thoughts?
And also, is that a role that he should be playing? And then if you can add the ego thing, who should drop it when there is a heated situation in order to maintain sanity in the family? Again, helping to strengthen with the goal of strengthening the family. Yes.
Okay, y'all sending me out good, huh? Okay, I like this. So look, okay, so I think that is a great question, Michelle, and I'll say that. So I'm a strong believer in children don't understand necessarily all the time. Well, I don't know. I can't say that exactly because my kids know exactly what money is, but children don't always look for financial, right? That's something that the parents look for at times because they know that they need support to take care of their children to do different things. So they expect for the man or the father, however it works, to step up and do these things. Do I think fathers should do that? Absolutely. They should play a role with always helping with the finance, so it's not always just on the mother. But at the same time, I would say that if that father is an active father and he's in that child's life, that's all the child knows. And that child is going to cherish that more than anything money can buy. But if there's some resources and things that this family need, and the father knows that and he's choosing not to help, I do believe he needs to step up and play some role with helping there. Now, when we're talking about heated situations in the home, men should just automatically know to just zip it at times. Sometimes you can't win every battle. Just stop it while you're ahead. And obviously, I talked earlier about what these situations do in front of the children. So the more you educate it and you learn that and you see how it affects the children, it's just good. Someone has to be the one to just stop, right? So that's where I feel like men has to play a role to just say, you know what, I'm just going to stop and call it a day. But when we're talking about even the egos and the leadership within the home, it has to be a balance. You know, my wife's voice matters just as much as my voice. I have to be willing to listen to what she says. Sometimes she might just say something that might be a good idea. I can't go back and forth all the time. Sometimes you just have to be willing to have a balance, be a listening ear. And at times, William spoke about the power piece. I'm a strong believer in power is no good if you don't share it. You have to be willing to share your power. You know, in today's time, women are so amazing. They are mayors and all of these different things in life where they could just, ain't no more women being in the house just cleaning no more, right? Women could share the same roles as men, but you have to still find a balance. Don't make yourself bigger, better because you make more. Don't make yourself bigger, better because you're in a different role. You have to find a balance. And that's where I believe family counseling come in at. And that's why I'm
Should
so glad
men
me and
be
my
the
wife
head of the house, though? Should men be the head of the house?
Of course, you have to have the man help lead and be support, but you
No,
have
no,
to
wait.
also
If you say
provide a
help
space.
lead, if you say help lead, then that means one should be a leader. If there are two captains in the boat, there may be a problem. There's bound to be a problem. So
Okay,
should the men
so
lead?
I'll go straight to it.
Yeah.
Men should absolutely lead the home, but
Thank you.
You still can't lead the home without the support. You can't lead it without the support. You need that support system there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I don't know if William gave you closing remarks. If you didn't, please give us a closing remarks. Michelle, I think is trying to do a follow up. Michelle, go ahead. I know these guys have to go. But
no, I mean, listen, William, I've already posed my question. I was asking the financial role of a father in the household. What are your thoughts?
Right. If you're going to be, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, William, Joseph, would that be your closing? And so we can try to, have you go take care of the family, because I know that's one of the, you got to do that. Okay. So go ahead.
So I just want to say thank you guys so much for having me on here. This was an absolutely amazing conversation. And yes, I have to go only because I got to get in there and help out a little bit. But for the most part, I just want to say thank you guys for this opportunity. This was a great conversation. We need more conversations like this in our communities, because you get to hear different perspectives and you also get to learn. So thank you, brothers, for being on here with me. I'm learning from you guys. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to keep the phone on so I can still hear the conversation while I'm in here working with the babies. But I just want to thank all of you guys that's on the show tonight, and I really do appreciate you guys.
Hey, brother Joseph, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Congratulations again on your newborn, and for the work that you're doing for this young man. You're definitely a life changer, and we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming in. I know it's been a hectic day, but you decided to take time to make it. So we really, really appreciate you, Joseph Williams. God bless you so much. All right. So that was Joseph, and William will give us his closing remarks. Right after that, we would focus on Taiwo's wisdom. And I know he's taking all the notes. We'll try and get them. There's also a few comments we'd like to go through after we get in after we got in William's remarks. Closing remarks.
So to Michelle's question, it's good for the father to be involved in, the hands-on and the day-to-day things, but if you can't provide, he also needs to be able to provide that financial support. You can't expect the mother to to say, okay, I'm here to do this X, Y, and Z, but the children are lacking this, or your child is lacking this. You have to. The father does have a absolute role if they're able to provide that financial support. Um, I just it's no simple way to put it. They do have it's more to the child. The child's role. Um, the hands-on does have a positive effect on the children, but the financial side of it, the kid needs more than just that. There's a ton of things that can be used that those financial resources can be used for, and I just think that is, if you don't do it halfway, if you're going to do it all the way. If you have the financial capabilities, go ahead and do it. Take care of your children in every way that you can, in every role that you can. Don't just don't just kind of half a it and be a partial father. If you're gonna be a father, be a full-time father. Don't if you go all the way, don't just halfway do it. And the last thing I just want to say is thank you so much for inviting me to this panel. This is an awesome conversation. Great people, great leadership on this panel. I appreciate you guys reaching out to me, and I will hope you guys do this again because I look forward to joining again if you guys do.
Man, brother William Moore, we really appreciate you. Even though it was last minute, you came through, and these are the men that we have in our society, in our communities, that are living their examples, how they've changed their lives for the better. Some of them had good beginnings, some did not, but essentially these are the roles that they have shared with us. These are the roles that they've played, and some of the wisdom they've shared this evening has been a blessing to all of us. Brother William, once again, we really, really want to appreciate you on the Progressive Mind Show. Maybe Michelle, I'm sure Michelle has some nice words for you as well, as always.
No, I really enjoyed your input, and it's something special about a father who has daughters. So I can only imagine the challenges, and so kudos to you, much strength to you, and we appreciate you. You sharing your perspective with us. I know it's not easy having 3 girls. I can only imagine.
Thank you, Brother Joseph. We look forward to having you on the show again. Have a wonderful evening. And so as we take leave of Brother Joseph, we will take this short break. When we come back, the show will continue. Stay tuned to the Progressive Mind Show. This is your #1 community building platform as we try to change mindset. We shall be right back. We are back to the show. My name is Alinko, and I'm joined with Michelle Okenert, our co-host. We have been talking about the role of fathers in strengthening the Black family. Very, very insightful so far. We want to encourage our listeners to help share the feed so that our conversation here would reach the depth of our community, because this is what we need to be talking about a lot of the times. So please help share the feed if you're watching us. We do have a few folks that I want to acknowledge before we go straight to the conversation. It's 7:26 p.m. Central Time, and we will be going straight to Taiwo. Taiwo, please, thank you so much for hanging on with us. Pumpkin Gee is watching. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation this evening. Kyra Davis, we know we've shared your comment. Fasika Yerga. We also have Evelyn Sedado, Auntie Evelyn. Thank you so much for joining the feed. Collins Ankobia is also here. Pastor Ate Akron is also here with us. Joseph Awunyonga is watching. Thank you so much. Joy Agbonaya. Joyce Agbonaya, thank you for always being a part of the show. Ronaldo, hey, Ray. Ray is here. Ray, thank you for joining. Ashia Hasnan, Richard Agbesi, thank you so much for your contribution and for chiming in. Shante Morrison is also here. Faith Chatmoy Chapoy is also here. Nana Yao Ketre Mafu. I almost said Nana Yao Ketre Ampedu, but Nana Yao Ketre Mafu. Nana Mafu, thank you so much for joining in. My friend Salasi, you are here. And of course, Kofi Jafkwe was here earlier. But Bishop, I don't know if you have any comments so far. So before we go to Brother Taiwo.
Well, if anyone is just tuning in, I mean, we've had such a powerful discussion the first half of this show. I mean, really, to be able to hear from these fathers who are very dedicated parents, share their perspective and give us a better understanding into some of the challenges that you men face as fathers and just as men as individuals. So I'm curious to hear more from our guest Taiwo in his perspective and his opinion on what he's heard thus far as well.
Thank you so much. And we were also expecting Professor Kevin STORR, and I'm sure that hopefully he can join us before we close. Today's episode will be we will try and end today's episode a little earlier than our usual time. Brother Taiwo, you've listened in, so I know you had a lot of comments to make, but thank you for working with us. Please, any comment that you wanted to respond to, any question or comment that you wanted to respond to earlier, please go ahead before I follow up with any questions for you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's been an insightful conversation, and there are some fundamental issues that I think is important that we call attention to, because the reason why we get things wrong a lot of times is what we believe. Belief is at the foundation of behavior. You do what you believe. The reason why we don't eat sand is because we know that sand is not food, and we will never, no matter how hungry we are, no matter how bountiful baskets of sand that is before us, we'll never attempt to eat it because we are sure that that is not food. There are some things that we say in society. For example, we talk about the man's ego. Now, so the man's ego, is it a positive quantity or a negative quantity? It is a negative quantity, then it means that reduces you as a man. If it is a positive quantity, then it means that it helps you to play your role and to be responsible towards your family and towards your community. So when we talk about ego, we are talking about if there's an argument, am I supposed to say because I'm the man, I'm not going to apologize first? Now, it is important that we understand that if the man, I come from the Judeo-Christian perspective, which is the father, I believe in the Bible, I believe that the man is the head of the family. Headship is not a superiority thing. Headship is a function of order. The other day I had an argument with my wife, and my wife was in the US, I was in Nigeria, and we were talking on the phone, and the argument was tensed. And just as I dropped the phone, we couldn't resolve what we were discussing, and something occurred to me and asked me the question, this what just happened now, this argument that ended undecided, ended in confusion and turmoil, who should we hold responsible? And I was trying to soak myself in pity party to say, my wife should have understood, she didn't listen to me. And the question again was, why are you the head of the family? And I said yes to myself. If you are the head, what is the role of a head for the purpose of order, to create order in the family? What just happened right now is that order? I said no. So if I put you there for the purpose of order and now there's disorder, what are you supposed to do? So I had to call my wife back, apologize, and also still told her that we needed to discuss that matter further. But at that moment I was hot, I couldn't discuss it, but we'll discuss it later. And that's exactly what we did. So when it comes to positive masculinity, you must understand that you have ego, you have strength. Your ego can be for the purpose of oppressing, your ego can be for the purpose of lifting. Your strength can be for the purpose of oppressing, your strength can be for the purpose of lifting. So for me, my strength is for the purpose of lifting. So if there's disorder, I'm the first to step in because my role is that of order. Now, please note, everything that I'm talking to you about right now, they are easier said than done. when you face the situation, some seemingly impossible situation, when you have tried to say, I'm going to bring order over and over again, and it's as if it backfires, it appears it's not working. And you are likely to say, well, I'm not going to, maybe this thing is not worth practicing. But I'm telling you that at the end of the day, if you stick to order, order will produce more order. Even at the initial stage, it may look as disorder. It may look as if your commitment to order is producing disorder, but with a little more of tenacity, grit, and consistency, I can assure you that things are likely to turn around. So for me, so that's about that, and that's my
take on that.
That's my take on that. Now, on the issue of finance in the home,
Mm.
I think that finance in the home is another issue that is completely misunderstood, depending on the community you come from,
Mm.
or your background, or where you are coming from.
Mm.
Now, for me, with the society I come from in Nigeria, the general belief is that my money. So for the woman, my money is my money. Our husband money is our money. I have my money, I keep it, it's my money. And our husband money is not our money. So the woman can build a house, can do stuff, and they back it up with the Bible to say that if there's a man that cannot produce for his family, is worse than an infidel. Now, that is not in the Bible, that is a lie. So for me, I think that leadership does not mean the man provides everything. In this age and time, you also know that these times do not support that thinking. There has to be, in my home, I'm not the sole provider. I may be the lead provider, but I'm not the sole provider because my wife works, in Nigeria, I also work. So we sat down to say, okay, what am I responsible for? What is she responsible for? And that is according to the resources that come into our hands as a couple. If I earn more, then it beholds that I will bring more. If the tide changes and she earns more, it means that she will bring more. So at the end of the day, the president of the country, as my friend Mr. Alakunle Soyan, has argued, the president of the country is not the richest man in the country. He's not the one who brings all the money in the country. Yeah. It's just for the purpose of ensuring equitable distribution of wealth. That is the essence. So at the end of the day, if a man is irresponsible, that must be spoken to. And I love something that Joseph said. A lot of time, men are not irresponsible because they want to be irresponsible. Men are irresponsible because nobody is showing them how to be responsible. So if you are able to show a man what responsibility means, why he has to be responsible, and what the responsibility, how he can be responsible, I think there's going to be a level of responsibility. That does not mean there are men who are indulging themselves, who are not ready to do the needful. Now, this world is not a perfect world, it's a fallen world. So you're going to find people who will do the right thing, you're going to find people who will do the wrong thing. But at the end of the day, it is about taking personal responsibility for what you believe. What exactly do you believe as a person? And how are you going to bring what you believe to the fore? And beyond bringing to the fore, how are you going to become an example to so many other people who are observing you?
Thank you so much. One powerful thing that you said that I really, a lot of the things, you said a lot of things, great things. One sentence that I really want to touch on is, a lot of times some men don't know how, but when you show him, because it's instinctive. Responsibility is very instinctive for us to take care of, to protect. Is that's how we are wired, right? And so if you lose the way, and just like maybe nursing a baby is to the woman, right? If the woman doesn't know and you teach her, it's natural, right? So she can pick it even if she doesn't know. So, and I think that is for men too. So you're very right. A lot of men out there may need it. Not may. A lot of men out there who don't know how, or who have lost their way, and who are not playing the role, those natural roles that God gave us as men. We're hoping that some may be listening now and maybe taking cues, and even if you're not listening, we're praying that God will guide your way to people who can show you the way. And we do understand that a lot of men they didn't get that foundation, and so they're missing. It's like sometimes bringing a pit bull home and you give him a training of the Chihuahua. they're gonna behave like Chihuahua. But as soon as that pit bull gets another trainer and tunes it to mind that you're not a Chihuahua, you were a pit bull, and gives them another training, that natural aggressiveness is already there. So that pit bull will just jump right into it, right? Michelle, I don't know if you have any questions for Taiwo, but I wanted us to look at some comments on the feed.
I just have one question, Taiwo. For any young woman out there that is looking to settle down with a man and start a family, right? We talk about red flags in relationships. Are there any green flags that women should be looking for? No, really, in
Yes, I agree with you.
To procreate with.
So let's talk about green flags.
This is the first time I'm hearing it. That's very powerful.
Michelle, you're powerful. Yeah. So let me quickly speak to this before I speak to the green flags.
Okay.
The other time Michelle asked a fundamental question when it comes to fatherhood: is it a function of instinct or a function of skill? For me, I think it is both, but the preeminence must go to skill. The preeminence must go to knowledge. The preeminence must go to attitude. You know that being a father is a role that requires responsibilities. Anytime responsibilities is involved, then training must be involved. If I'm to be responsible, there's nothing that we do in this world that we are not trained for. If it requires a level of responsibility, if fatherhood is not passivity, then it means it is responsibility. If it is responsibility, there's a level of learning. You can learn from home. Observing your own father, observing people around you is a possibility. But if you don't have that kind of training that you need from home, you must take responsibility to learn. I think there are three fundamental things that make you a father. Number one is to understand that you need knowledge. Knowledge is what to do. Knowledge is what to do. At every point in time, there's what to do. Number two is skill. How to do it. Number three is the attitude. And that attitude speaks to the fortitude to do that which you know you should do. If you have knowledge, which is what to do, but you don't have skill, which is how to do it, you are still defective. If you have knowledge and skill and you don't have the fortitude to carry out that which you believe you should do, then that will still be missing. My wife and I were, for 15 years, we didn't have a child. Now there were influences here and there from extended family, but because there's fortitude, both of us knew what to do. We had the knowledge, we had the skill, but one major thing that played a major role was the fact that we had the fortitude to resist every temptation from outside our marriage, recognizing the fact that we are the married couple and we must insist on who we are, and we must insist on what we planned to be from the beginning, before the whole idea of not having a child came in. Because when we got married, it was not part of the plan that we're going to wait for 15 years before we had our first child. That was not the plan. But there was an attitude that we had at that time before the crisis started. How do we replay that attitude and ensure that that attitude continued to guide us until our baby came? So when our baby came, we had not lost ourselves, and if we have lost ourselves at that time, this time that the baby has come, how do we recoup all the things that we have lost? It's lost and it's lost forever. So for us, for me, that is where the place of fortitude comes in. So fatherhood will speak to knowledge, will speak to skill, and will speak to fortitude, which is attitude. And that is very, very important. Now, to the question of green flags, number one thing, when I was dating my wife, was the fact that somebody asked her, what did you see? Why are you going to marry to this guy? Because I didn't have, materially speaking, I was not meant for her, materially speaking. But what I had was a picture of a preferable future. And I was not desperate about any woman seeing it. I was just observant enough to see those who would see it. I was not desperate for women to see it, but I was just observant of those who will see it. So for me, where is the man going? Number two is the fact that what exactly does the man represent in terms of character? And how do you test character? I don't think you can test character by what the man is telling you. You only test character by watching the relationship that the man has first with his immediate family. What relationship does he have with them? when you visit and you observe, how does he relate with them? If people that are closest to him, to whom he has not become familiar with, if he treats them anyhow and does not love them and does not serve them, then you should know that you are just a new entrant into his life. And once he becomes familiar with you, you are going to become like those people. So if you rejoice that she doesn't, if you rejoice that he doesn't care about his family, he doesn't send money home, he doesn't talk about his mom, he doesn't talk about his dad, if you rejoice that he's spending all the money on you, buying things for you, it is like just digging your own grave. Then another thing is, which is very important, I'll mention two more. Another one is that, who is this person speaking to? Who are the person that can speak to him? Who are the person that he or she that he looks up to? Who does he look up to? Now, when the push comes to shove and this man is not listening, is there one person that can call him to order? That is very important. You see, I've worked with women since 1997. And one of the things that I found at a time in my life, I was dealing with over 15 women whose husbands have run away from home. And I tried to ask critical questions as to how they got to that point. One thing that was constant, I tell you, in all the cases that I've handled, is the fact that these men do not have people in their lives who can call them to order. Not one. In situations where they have men whom they have submitted to, whom they look up to, whom they have allowed to guide them, we find that a lot of times these men, or women, as the case may be, are able to step in to say, "Come, don't think that way. This is how I think you should think." Another thing I found in all of those cases is that when marriages break, most of the time, you find a lot of interference from the family. So interference from the family. Now, and interference does not happen except it is invited. Interference does not happen except the whole idea of who a man is and what a family is properly defined to the man. So you want to ask critical question as to, who is your mom to you? Who is your dad to you? Because when I get married to my wife becomes number one. My family becomes number one. If my mom is having a crisis with my wife, it's going to be a very tough thing for me, but I must find a place in my heart at the level of integrity and soberness to support my wife, not to support my wife, to defend my wife, and find a way to help my mother understand what the issues are. But the problem I found is that a lot of men have not, they have not removed them from themselves from the apron string of their mother and of their father. So these are the guys that dictate to them how to run their homes. And so what do you find at that level? What you now find is that the man is not the one in charge. Before he does anything, he has to take permission from the mom or from the dad. And so the man is not his own man. At the end of the day, there's a problem. So for me, the green light for me will be one, what is the content of this person's character? Then how do you test it? His relationship with others, friends, other people. Number two is the fact that, who does this man submit to? Who can talk to him? Who are the people that can call him to order, at any point in time? Number three is the fact that, what is his understanding of a family? Is he his own man? Has he removed himself from the apron string of his family to the point that he can serve his family as his number one constituency and still be responsible to his extended family, right? And if there is a clash if there's a clash at any point in time, it's not divided as to what his position should be. And all of these things that I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, they are not easy. If it were easy, everybody would be practicing it, everybody would be doing it. They are tough. They are things that keep marriage going a lot of times that we hardly discuss. They are tough orders, but at the same time, if you want a level of peace in your life, if you want to raise children that will play meaningful roles in this life, it is important that you pay attention to all of these things. They are not easy. They are tough. They are difficult. Your ego may not support it. Your weakness may not support it. But one thing is sure, that whatever brings highest value in life demands highest sacrifice. Whatever brings, you see, rarity is the concept of value. If you have a refuse dump, you don't ever see military men guiding a refuse dump. There's nothing there. There's nothing of value. But when you see the level of security you see around the place is a proverb as to what is being kept there. The level of convoy following the American president is a reflection of the importance and the integrity and the dignity of that office. The number of people you see following a man sleeping on the street is a reflection of who he is and the content, the quality and the value he or she carries. So
Wow.
basically, that's it for me.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Yes. Very, very, very wow. I think we could have a whole show by yourself, Mr. Taiwo. Thank you so much for
Thank
all
you
the
so much.
wisdom and knowledge. Um, I had a question, but I don't know if Michelle has one. Before we do that, let's take this quick break. The show will continue right after this. This is the Progressive Mind Show. Here we discuss these type of issues to strengthen our communities. Remember that the family value structure, strengthening the family, the roles men play in the family, is roles men play in strengthening the black family. It's not only about married men or men who have had children. See, men in general have a role to play in society as much as women. But if we are born or created as leaders, then we have to act as one, whether we are fathers or husbands. If you are a man, your immediate jurisdiction has to be protected. So you belong to a family, you belong to a class, or you belong to a community, right? And so wherever you find yourself as a man, even maybe a small group chat, that natural instinct of leadership, responsibility, and accountability, has to show. And so, as we try to strengthen our families, Taiwo, when we come back from the break, I want you to respond quickly as to how men in general, right, and some of the roles that we can play, when it comes to our siblings, our extended family, our communities. But again, looking at how our roles affect the families. And so if you can just help us with that regard. And then another question I have for you is religion. And we'll come back I would like you to respond to that. Michelle, I don't know if you have comments or questions before we go on this short break.
Just to summarize what you said about the green flags, right? We're looking for flags of green flags of how a person interacts with their family and their friends, right? To test their character. Who do they submit to? Who can check them, right? Who can give them a nudge and say, hey, you need to calm down, or you should think about that again. And then also you said, is he his own man, independent of his parents and his family and their opinions, as well as him operating in his daily life as an individual. So I thought that was really great. I'm definitely going to share this with our audience during the week for those who may have been taking notes and wanted to hear that again.
Okay, that said, we shall be right back after the short break. We are right back. My name is Alinko, and I'm co-hosting the show with Michelle Okenard. We want to encourage our listeners and our audience, our supporters, that we need you to help share this feed. We need you to get this word out, because what we're talking about is for the upliftment of our communities. Our website is theprogressivemindshow.com or the pmsshow.com. We are 501c, and so your contributions to what we're doing here goes a long way in sustaining the show. Very soon, we're going to be getting, we'll try to get sponsors for this show. So if you want us to do that for you, please go ahead and send us an email to info.progressiveminds@gmail.com. info.progressiveminds@gmail.com. We also like you to subscribe to our YouTube page, The Progressive Mind Show. Subscribe, share it to friends and family, and then turn on the notification so that every Wednesday from 6 to 8 when we come on, you can be part of the community building show. Of course, we're on Facebook as well. Like us on Facebook and follow us there. We're on Twitter. We are live on Twitter right now, and we are being carried by STORR online radio station out there on the East Coast. It's a Pan-African radio station, 24-hour radio station, a lot of reggae and Afrobeat. Good vibe. You want to check it out. We're working on other syndications coming soon, and we definitely want you to keep this space. We are still currently working and preparing for the exchange ceremony, which is scheduled for June 4th. Michelle, you want to say something about it?
Yes, we are super excited. We have some very special guests confirmed to participate in this year's exchange ceremony. And actually, this year we're doing something different we have not done, and it's never been done here in Chicago before. So I'm super excited about that. We'll be coming up with some announcements towards the end of this month on how to participate and join us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So check out the space, the Progressive Minds social media. We're looking out for a lot of information coming. This exchange is basically bringing diaspora, Africans, Caribbeans, African Americans, and Latinx to exchange our culture. This is where we promote, this is where we engage and share our culture, celebrate our culture, our humanity together. Okay, and it's a process. It's carefully curated to help us heal and to celebrate us as a people. Very, very beautiful, culturally motivated event coming up June 4th at a Rainbow Push. And again, watch out for that special ceremony for Reverend Jesse Jackson. It's going to be a beautiful way to honor Reverend Jesse Jackson, a giant in this global humanity. Question that I had, yeah. So Taiwo, you want to comment quickly on again role of men? It's not limited to husbands and fathers. You want to comment quickly on that?
Now, I think the first thing is that you are first a man before you are anything. You are first a man. As a matter of fact, you're first human before you are a man. Your humanity shines forth. You see, so I think being a man, being a father, being all of these things are roles that you play as human. Because as human, you can play the role as a mother. As human, you can play the role of a father. So it depends on the role that has been assigned to you by God to play. And that's what matters. So the first thing for me is that you're first human. Now, the way you do one thing in neo-linguistic programming, it is said that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. The way you run your life is how you are likely to run the lives of other people. If you think that you are selfish, you perfect the act of selfishness, you are just going to be selfish to yourself also. And so for me, life is about who you are. It's not about the roles that you play. And a lot of times society focuses more on roles instead of focusing on who is going to play the role. Now, no matter how, you see, I don't know if you follow the case of a pilot who was flying an Air France flight who had mental issues and who was mentally challenged. And what happened was that when the co-pilot went to ease himself, he locked up the entire cockpit and crashed the plane, and everybody died. Now, the problem was not with the role. The problem, it did not lack skill. It did not lack how to. It lacked himself. Whom he was already tampered with. Because whom he was already tampered with, it flowed into his role. So it's what about who we are not the roles that we play. When we become more, we do more. When we know better, we do better. So that is how it is for me. So at the end of the day, if you talk about my role to my family, I think I come from a very I come from a poor background, right? And so today, God has blessed me to a level. I still owe those folks, certain responsibilities. And I'm married to a woman who also understands that, and we're able to decide how do we help, this family member. What can we do to support with school fees and all of that? Now, so it's a joint effort by both of us. Even sometimes when I'm thinking about something smaller, my wife is saying, why not let's add this to it? Why not let's, do it this way? I think you can do more than that. So, okay. So for us, we have that commitment. So when it comes to community, okay.
when it comes to community, I'll let you respond.
Okay.
I have a slight disagreement
Okay.
when it comes to roles.
Mm-hmm.
Just as you said, there's also division of labor. In the
Mm-hmm.
workplace, somebody's doing marketing, somebody's doing social
Mm-hmm.
media, someone's doing engineering.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't play your role, the entire team cannot grow. There's going to be
Yes.
stagnation, right? We're going to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
In a car, there are so many parts in the car. Every
Mm-hmm.
little bolt and tool plays a role.
Yes.
You're not functioning. Good. So I believe that in the human race, yes, we are all humans, but there are also roles. God made us all humans, but he gave us certain roles. There are roles that men naturally cannot there are roles that men naturally cannot perform, so are women, right? God gave us some things
I
as
agree with
men.
you.
Sorry?
I agree with you completely.
Good. So in that sense, men were if you're a man, you're the only man in the household of, let's say, 3 women, and you expect the women to put the security measures in place in terms of protecting the house. I feel like as a man, you are relinquishing your role, because your role naturally is to protect, right? And now, it's not to say that the woman does not have the capacity to do it, but I believe that there are some specific roles that we can play, right, in order to enhance this human race, and that is what I sincerely believe in. So
I agree with you. See, so what I'm saying is that you are first human before you play any role.
Of course.
If you lose your humanity, you're not able to play any role.
Absolutely.
So God has assigned certain roles to you, but you're first human. Your humanity must be alive and intact.
And that goes for both men and women.
Of a father, of a mother, any role you want to play, any role that has been assigned to you. The first fundamental thing is that we are first human before we move into our roles. So once we lose the foundation of our humanity, we lose everything, you know. So for me, it's about recognizing my identity as a person, as a human being, as a member of human race, and now recognizing what role that have been assigned to me. That sense of responsibility comes when I know that I'm human, and in the human race there are divisions of labor, right? And so each person is responsible for what, even the body, the way the body is made, like the way the Bible teaches. There are responsibilities. The eye cannot say, the eye cannot say to the mouth that you are insignificant. You know, the leg cannot say, the head cannot say to the leg that, you know, you are not important.
So there are roles.
There are roles, and everybody within the society must recognize that those roles and must be ready to fit in. And
but on this show, we're talking about the role that men can play in strengthening our Black families, right? Good. And so that's what I was trying to say. So when I hear you say we are humans first, for me, it diminishes, or at least it weakens the power of the points of the men playing that role, because we're all humans, no question. Okay, that is a given. We all understand. But so when you come down from that general understanding, we all agree that there are roles, and I want to zero in on what it is for the men in strengthening the Black family, and that's what I want to focus on. I mean, that's what we want to focus on this show, and that's what I want you to come on strong on, if you can. Either way is fine, but I just want you to be choose one and not.
So for me, the man has certain roles to play.
Good.
And I think the number one role of the man in the family,
in general, right?
Yes, the man in the family, or generally,
right. Okay, good.
Is direction.
Thank you.
Someone is taking us somewhere. The responsibility of a leader is to teach vision and keep inspiration alive.
Thank you.
Somebody must be doing that.
Okay.
Somebody must have a picture of a preferable future. George Banner says a vision is a picture of a preferable future imparted by God. So where are we going? Where is this ship going? In the community, in the family, where exactly are we going? The man should be able to define that, you know, and demonstrate it. Number two, the man must understand the principle of the fact that in war there has to be strategy. There has to be strategy. There has to be a strategic commitment. Number three, the man must teach stewardship of private property, stewardship of public property. as a Christian, my faith tells me that there's nothing that I have that is mine, is given to me for the purpose of stewardship. I'm a distributor, not an owner.
Right.
And that is a key responsibility. Okay. Who best demonstrates stewardship is somebody that is recognized as the head. Okay. That person relinquishes that place to say, before now, leadership was meant to be an opportunity to lord it over order. But I'm now saying to you that leadership is an opportunity for me to relinquish myself, to step myself down for the purpose of serving others. So if there's no food in the house, I want to make sure that everybody eats before I step into it, because I'm the head. It's not that because I'm the head, I will eat first and I will satisfy myself. Awesome. And it is a leftover that people will eat. So I think that these are the roles. And that's why it is said, on easy lies the head that wears the crown. If people, I once told a couple, I said that if people recognizes what it means to be a man, what it means to be a man, if people recognizes what it means to be married and your responsibility towards your family, it will be a restraint from people from just saying, I want to step into that role, because they will know that the bigger your head, the bigger your headache. Okay. The higher your role, the higher your responsibility.
Okay. No, thank you. Michelle, we got to close. It's 3 minutes, and we've had a lot of wisdom today.
A lot of wisdom. I think the biggest thing to bring home in what he just said is, if you're not really ready for the responsibility, don't take it on.
Yeah. And and thank you, Taiwo. You had all this listed roles, important roles, and you won't bring it. You are telling me you were playing here for me. I wanted you to say this, what you just said. you were here. You see, I don't corner you now. He's a good friend, so I can mess with him. But we really appreciate your time for being here.
Thank you so much.
Last comment here is that what a lot of single childless men fail to realize is that they are necessary in our communities as well. Even if you aren't a father yet, if you have knowledge and wisdom, you could help youth in your community. Many tend to leave and forget. However, mentors can take the place of the absentee fathers in supporting and being an ear for your youth. Thank you so much.
Very profound.
Very good.
Thank you for Taiwo. Just make it a yes or no response. What is the role of God or spirituality in helping the man to function in strengthening the Black family?
It's indispensable.
Thank you. Michelle.
Yes.
Same question for you.
What is the role? Repeat
of God or spirituality in God?
I think it's I think it plays a very big role, because your spirituality kind of navigates your life for you. Determines which direction it
is it that important for women as well?
Absolutely. And I think even more so.
Even more so. This is the last comment. Great to see you again, Sana. Super important conversation. Dr. Portia, great to see you. It's been a long time. Well, Michelle, we got to wrap up. Your closing remarks before we go to let's take closing remarks from Dr. Taiwo Akinlamin. You've been a blessing this evening, but give us your closing remarks, and then we try to bring this program to an end.
Well, I think at the end of the day, we have to keep our eyes on legacy. How do you want to be remembered? Okay. The truth of the matter is that someone says, if you don't want to be forgotten as soon as you are dead, you either do things worth writing about, or you write things worth speaking about. So for me, I keep my eye on how do I want my son to remember me? I want my son to be able to say, I'm my father's son. And that means that I'm able to tell who my father represents, if I'm no more, what he represented, what he stood for, and that value chain can move from generation to generation because I've properly communicated it, not only by words, but by my examples.
Wow. Very powerfully said. And I think Kyra was just reiterating the point we made about men have been, allowing God to be your guide, or basically having the importance of God or spirituality in guiding the man, submitting to that higher call. And so that's a great question. If we have time, we'll have Tayo respond to it. But another time, we're going to have Tayo here again for sure. Closing remarks, Michelle.
I just think that we learned a lot about the struggles and the triumphs that men have overcome to be good fathers and be involved in making their family units work. And I just want to thank everyone for listening and taking a part in this conversation, because we know that the foundation of the family is the foundation of our community and society as a whole. And the more that we're able to get it right at home, as parents, as daughters, as friends, we're able to exemplify that in our society as well.
Brilliant. We hope that our topic today, has somewhat shaped or pricked your perspective. And we also hope that you can continue this conversation. Again, please sharing the feed so that we can together make our society a better place. Next week is going to be another powerful session, so stay tuned, and we shall be here to serve you. My name is Alinko with the Progressive Mind Show, and I've been co-hosted with
Michelle Kennard.
To whom much is given, much is required. We shall be here next week. Stay blessed and have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.
Night.